Business owners often wait until they feel confident to show up and take action, when taking action is actually how you build confidence. By proving to yourself that you're capable of facing challenges and making progress, you increase your self-assurance. Welcome back to the Jasmine Star Show, a place we talk about business, marketing, and everything that goes into helping you live a life that you love, with people you love, doing it on your own terms. Okay, as we wrap up the year, I have been reflecting on positive mindset shifts and lessons that I have, number one, experienced personally, and two, I've seen within my community. I'm recording this episode, sharing them in hopes that they will help you too as you enter in the new year. Number one is to replace the need for motivation with momentum. Oh yeah, we're going there. Number two, to celebrate continuous improvement and not just really huge wins. Number three is to embrace non-dualistic thinking. Number four is to remember being present, and that being present is a choice. Number five is to embrace infinite identities. Number six, apply the power of yet when something feels limiting. And finally, lucky number seven, challenge the story you're telling yourself. The first mindset shift to replace is the need for motivation with momentum. Now, before we dive into this, you might have heard me say action builds confidence. Let me explain that first because I believe that they go hand in hand. Business owners often wait until they feel confident to show up and take action, when taking action is actually how you build confidence. By proving to yourself that you're capable of facing challenges and making progress, you increase your self-assurance. It's literally proof that you can do hard things to get the results you want. Now, I didn't say an answer. I said results. Your hard work will often not give you exactly what you want, but it's the path of guiding you to finding the right answer. The more action you take, the faster you're going to get results to find that answer. Action leads to confidence, which encourages more action and improvement, and that leads your business to more results. So remember, waiting for confidence to appear before taking action won't happen. Now, I've seen business owners, they often rely solely on motivation to take action. Like they tell themselves that once I'm motivated, then I'm going to start working on things that are going to help me reach my goals. But the thing is, when you start taking action and building momentum in a task or a project, it creates a sense of accomplishment and satisfaction in your brain. Now, this feeling of progress and achievement will motivate you to continue working towards your goals. Friends, that right there. The shortest way that I can say this is just start doing something. Just start doing something, anything. Even if you think it's not the best place to start or the best time to start, just start. Why? Taking action leads to momentum, and momentum and motivation are interconnected. Momentum is how you create internal motivation, which is sustainable, and that is in your control. Unlike watching a motivational YouTube video, that may or may not create external motivation, which is reliant on other factors outside of your control. Here's an example. Imagine two friends who started their coaching businesses at the same time. We're going to call them Ashley and Nicole. Ashley relies on motivation, waiting for the perfect moment or mood to take action and generate new leads. But Nicole, on the other hand, well, she's focusing on building momentum by reaching out to 5 people every single day who could be prospective clients, whether she feels motivated or not. Okay, pause here. Nicole is doing work even when she doesn't feel motivated, even when she doesn't feel qualified, even if the time isn't right, even when the mood ain't right, even when there's not scented candles setting the vibe and after you've journaled and have a cold plunge and you had your workout and a protein smoothie. She's doing it even when those optimal situations are not there. So in a year, Nicole has consistent revenue and a client base because she maintains a steady flow of new people added to her network. Well, Ashley's business generates little to no profit because her actions are based on her motivation levels. Mindset shift number 2, celebrate continuous improvement. Oh, y'all, like me, if you're like me, you love to celebrate big wins and milestones. Like you should, rightfully so. Go on with your bad self. You did that. But to get even more results in your business, I want you to start celebrating smaller improvements and wins. I was actually reading about this philosophy. And it's a philosophy of celebrating continuous improvement, and it's known as the Kaizen mindset, which is a Japanese mindset. It's a Japanese concept. So this mindset shift is the belief that small incremental changes often lead to major progress over time. Now, small incremental progress that leads to changes over time. This improves consistency and persistence, which we know often leads to success. So here's an example. David is a freelance copywriter, and he only measures his success by completing big projects or landing high-profile clients. Okay, but let's focus on small wins that changed his business from the inside out. He began celebrating things that weren't just monetary. He started celebrating writing faster, improving brand voice, and learning new writing techniques. Now, this mindset boosted his confidence and his efficiency, making his clients very satisfied and excited to keep him on as a writing contractor. By celebrating continuous improvement, David improved his reputation as a copywriter and, as a byproduct, increased his revenue. If you're not sure what this looks like in your business, here's some ideas. Let's give you a reason to throw a party. Positive feedbacks or reviews from your client. Feedbacks? Yes, I just made it plural. Feedbacks. Positive feedback and testimonials from your clients. How you handled a tough situation or conversation. Improvements in your workflow, in your systems or operations. Successful teamwork or really cool collaboration. New creative ideas. Okay, so I'm going to take a second and I'm going to tell you about this little cheesy idea that I loved. Back in October, I created a win board in my office, and it includes every kind of small highlight that I would have normally been like, oh, that's cool, but I would have glossed right over. For example, I wrote down a win was having a conversation with a company that I wanted to partner with. Now, nothing happened from that conversation. We still have a ton of follow-up calls and contracts and final confirmation that we can actually partner together. But the win was simply that the call happened. I'm celebrating the start of that conversation as hopefully, I'm celebrating the start of it. And then hopefully I'm going to start the end, celebrating the end of that conversation too. So celebration on the front, celebration at the end. Okay, so let's go back to our mindset shifts. Number one was to replace the need for motivation with momentum, doing the work even if you don't feel like it. Number two was to celebrate continuous improvement. Whenever I think of number two, I always have the background Celia Cruz. Okay. Okay. It's like salsa. It's like, I'm just going to throw a party because I'm doing the dang work. If you don't throw a party for yourself, ain't nobody going to throw a party for you. Okay. So get some Cuban music, get arroz con andule, put on dancing, just get your groove on because you're celebrating the small wins. Number three is to embrace non-dualistic thinking. So yeah, your girl just went from dancing cumbia and salsa to non-dualistic thinking. Time to sound a little bit smart. We often feel like we need to organize people and things and situations and ideas, good or bad, hero, villain, right or wrong. And this is called a binary mindset. A binary mindset is when you see things only in black and white terms. There's no middle ground. There's no shades of gray. And this could lead to small thinking and limit your ability to make informed decisions. So how do you not do this? By embracing non-dualistic thinking. Non-dualistic thinking is the ability to see interconnectedness, or shades of gray, in all aspects of your life and business. And this could lead to more empathy, being more open-minded, and a deeper understanding of really complex issues. So here's an example of how non-dualistic thinking can have a huge impact in somebody's business. Let's use an example. Let's say her name is Sarah. Sarah owns a sustainable brand and has a choice to make. She wanted to make her clothes in a way that was good for the environment and fair for workers. At first, she thought, dang, I only have two options. Choose between cheap factories that aren't very fair to their workers or expensive ones that are fair, but they cost a fortune. But then she started thinking non-dualistically. She realized that there were other options on the in-between. Sarah started talking to her current factories about doing things better. She also talked about what she was doing on social media to make things more fair and responsibly sourced in a fashion industry, which led her followers to giving her insights and offering new perspectives about what she's doing. This change in thinking helped her find better solutions. Sarah learned that not everything is good or bad. There are many, many ways to make things better, small and incrementally along the way. Now, this approach not only made her brand more ethical, but it made her brand more well-loved and well-known to her ideal client. People were speaking into that. Okay, so let's take the story away from Sarah and put it back to your girl, because remember that company that I wanted to partner with, the one that I put on my win board? It was like a small win. Well, before we thought of a partnership, we were using a binary mindset. Now, I don't want to get into too much details, but we were literally going to create our own tutorial videos on how to use a platform for your business. It was another platform for your business. Now, I want to repeat that again. We were going to make a handbook on how to use another product. Why? Because up until this point, we had never seen a company do such a massive partnership and create unique tutorials for our needs. Okay, so this was a classic black and white perspective. Because they hadn't done it in the past, we believed that they wouldn't do it in the future. But then we started embracing non-dualistic thinking. We literally mapped out everything we needed, a dream list of how we could partner with this company. And then we pitched them. And I felt so ridiculous. I felt like I was so out of my league. I felt like I was saying everything wrong. I felt like it was so audacious. Like, who was I to go to that company and say, I need you to do all of this to partner with us? And guess what? They agreed to every request. And here's where it gets better. They gave us ideas on how we can improve the offer. I mean, it almost feels like, what kind of story or parallel universe am I living in? This is because it was no longer binary thinking. We asked for how gray could we make it? This isn't black or white. It was like 50 shades of gray. And this, friends, this moment of saying it's not binary, and could we be audacious? And could we ask for everything that we want? Because if they say no, we're exactly in the same place we started. That is embracing a different mindset. And this brings us to the fourth mindset shift, which is to remember that being present is a choice. Recognizing the choice of being present empowers you to take control of your mindset, control of your time, control of your actions. If you've ever worked in a restaurant, or if you've had any sort of night shift, you might remember that feeling of dread that lingered the whole day, knowing that you're going to have to clock in at 4 p.m. And I'm going to think of all the mornings and afternoons wasted by dreading that future shift and then not making the most of that time off that you had during the day. I worked night shift as a waitress for years, and I would waste so many days being like, okay, I got to get all of this. Oh, and I'm not going to get enough sleep. And and I just wasted my days. And honestly, I bet when you got there, when I did, it wasn't as nearly as dreadful as we imagined in our mind. Our minds have a way of keeping us overthinking the past and then dreading the future. We must wire our brains to live in the present. Even if you just have 5 minutes or even an hour a day, you can make the most out of it. And then you could choose to be present in that 5 minutes or in that 60 minutes. So here's an example. Okay, and this is an example from somebody I actually experienced in the past, but we're changing his name. Adam is a podcast producer with a teenage daughter. He has 15 minutes in between his back-to-back meetings every Tuesday. He has these meetings every Tuesday for 5 hours straight, and he was dreading those short breaks. I'm going to use this quote. It was a waste of time. Those 50 minutes, that was just a waste of time. So he would scroll Instagram until he realized he was wasting an hour of his Tuesday. An hour. So he had 4 breaks, each 15 minutes. I was an hour. So now he uses these little pockets of time to unwind by stepping outside. He takes a few deep breaths and he prepares for the next meeting. What used to be a waste of time is now the best use of his time. And now every Tuesday, during one of his breaks, he's able to call his daughter and he talks to her on her way home from school. So every Tuesday at 3:15, her phone rings and she knows it's her dad using his break to focus and be present with her. And here's the best part. When he and his daughter get home, they're able to be more engaged and patient because they've caught up with each other just a little bit. And Adam used his break time to focus on taking care of himself and his relationships. Okay, so before I get any further, I want to review where we're at. Mindset shift, number 1 was to replace the need for motivation with momentum. Number 2 was to celebrate those continuous wins and improvement. Number 3 is to embrace non-dualistic thinking. Number 4 is to remember that being present is a choice. And now number 5 is to embrace an infinite identity. My word for 2023 was rebirth. And I just have to tell you, man, did it come to life for me? Did that word just make itself true in my life? Yes, but not in the way that I expected. To be honest, nothing about me changed in my life until about late August or early September. So I haven't spoken publicly about this experience because I'm still working through a lot of everything that I had learned, but I would love to share about my first ever alone trip to a place called Sensei. So I went to Sensei and I wasn't really excited to go. I had a mentor, I had my husband, and I had our COO look across from me and say, you got to step away. Like, you got to get away. And they saw in me what I couldn't see in myself, that I was working so much to compensate for something, anything. And if I was being very honest, in my family, I come from a long line on both sides of addiction. And so I think in today's society, some addictions are celebrated and some addictions are pushed to the side. And so we know addictions that are not so healthy. And I think I got to a point where I got really addicted to work. And it was the only thing I wanted to do. And I think that the work was substituting me not wanting to address like stuff that had happened in 2022. And so I thought, 2023, I'm getting this new word. It's called rebirth. And all of these things are going to be like so amazing. I'm going to be a new person. And in my mind, in my finite, small-minded human thinking, I was like, my rebirth would be totally perfectly scheduled around February, March, because I'm going to be ready for it. And then I just realized that the more that things didn't change in my life, the more I just wanted to work, because work kept me busy and work kept me not feeling the things that I wanted to feel. And so when I was 100% with my family, I was 100% with my family. But I wasn't 100% with work. It was just 100% with work. Like, there was no like time to just be and think and feel. And so August, September, 3 very important people said, you're going and you need to go by the end of the month. So I went and I spent a week by myself, something I have never done in my entire life. And there I met a lot of great people. I worked with therapists. I did meditation. I did yoga. And one of the things that I learned is that something I've always learned, but it was good to hear it again, is that I am not my work and my work isn't me. And my worth is not in the work that I do, the work that I produce, or how much I work. And more than anything, I learned that my identity isn't fixed. It doesn't have to be one thing. I believe that our identities can be infinite. I could be an entrepreneur, and I could be a mother, and I could be a partner in life, in business, in friendship. I could be a daughter, I can be a granddaughter, I can be a friend, I can be an auntie, I can be a cousin. I can be 37 different types of entrepreneurs. You have the power to evolve and change, no matter what box people try to put you in, or, let's just be real, the box you put yourself in. So in order to do this, you have to reflect on what you want to change. You want to set clear goals. And you want to be open to evolving over time. Let people know about your goals, act on your goals, and be kind to yourself as you grow. It might feel like you're starting over when you decide to reinvent yourself or your career, but trust me, you're not. We can get into an example, right? Let's say there is an esthetician. Let's call her Brittany. And, Brittany's business really got started and started getting noticed on TikTok, but not by potential clients, but by other estheticians. Like her setup videos, her product recommendations, and her industry knowledge had estheticians from around the world reaching out to her for advice and asking questions on how to grow on social media. Now, even though Brittany spent years building a brand as solely an esthetician, she started to choose to embrace an infinite identity. She started realizing that she had a big opportunity in front of her. Brittany decided to pivot her brand and add on consultations for other industry professionals. Her reinvention allowed her to share her expertise, impact more lives, and make more money. Okay, so now let's dive into the 6th powerful mindset shift, the power of yet. The power of yet is one of the most simple yet effective mindset shifts. I will pause here and tell you that in the car ride yesterday, JD and I were driving from Newport Beach to Venice Beach, California, and we had this opportunity, and I had said, well, I just don't know. And then I stopped myself and I said, I don't know yet. Everything changes on yet. When I say, we can't afford that. We can't afford that yet. So here's how it works. When we say phrases like, I can't do this, or I don't have enough money, or I don't know, it signifies the sense of incapability, or like maybe it signifies fear of failure. But if we incorporate the word yet at the end of these statements, you give them an entirely different perspective. Saying, I can't do this yet, recognizes your present limitations while acknowledging you have the power to change it. In other words, this shift Adding yet impacts our brains and reminds us that we are not confined by our current abilities or our current circumstances. The next time you find yourself saying the sentence that makes you feel limited or small or just not where you want to be, give it a try. Just add yet. So here are some other ways that you can use the power of yet. I haven't reached my goals yet. I'm not a confident speaker yet. I'm not good at this yet. It's not something I know how to do yet. We can't make that investment yet. I don't have a big network yet. I'm not a full-time entrepreneur yet. Do you see how adding the word yet changes the emotion and the meaning behind the sentence? Oh, yes, y'all. Yet. Okay, so this is going to bring us to our seventh and final mindset shift, and that is to challenge the story you are telling yourself. Our minds love to apply a narrative to situations, even if it doesn't know the truth. For example, I can't tell you how many times people thought I was a rude, erratic, jerk driver, cutting them off and speeding down the street. They thought I was a jerk. And that's the story they were telling themselves. But here's what they didn't know. I was often driving my mom to the hospital when she was having a severe asthma attack. I wasn't being rude. I was trying to save her life. This is a real story. So how do we challenge the story we tell ourselves? Well, we can assume positive intent. Next time somebody does something that upsets you or makes you angry, take a step back and assume they had good intentions. This means that we're going to suspend all judgment and try to understand why they might have done what they did. So here's an example. A business coach named John noticed that several of his clients had stopped showing up to his live coaching sessions. And then this made him feel frustrated. And then he was like, I'm questioning, do I have the ability to lead them? Do they even care? Am I doing something wrong? Eventually, after 2 months of zero attendance, John decided to challenge the story he was telling himself and assume positive intent. Instead of jumping to conclusions about, hey, wait, why is nobody showing up? He reached out to a few of his clients individually, and then he wanted to try to understand why they stopped joining, why they stopped coming. And John discovered that the time of the call, 3 p.m. his time, was 6 p.m. their time, and they were focused on their families at that time. They told him, John, I'm still watching these classes on a replay of the call, after the kids go to bed. But then John realized, hey, things can change. Things need to change. So knowing this, he changed the meeting time, and not only did it lead to better attendance, but he retained his clients and deepened trust because they understood that he's a supportive and understanding coach. The problem was never John. The problem was never his ability to lead, even though that was the story he was telling himself. How often do we tell ourselves a story and not assume positive intent? Okay. So like I said, this year was a big year of reflections and a big year of learning, and I had big mindset shifts that I shared open and vulnerably with you. So now let's take a moment to reflect on them because I want you to take them going into your next day, week, month, and even year. Number 1, replace the need for motivation with momentum. When you catch yourself waiting around for motivation, I'm waiting for inspiration. No. Remember that it's often the act of starting, even with one small step, that generates the energy and motivation to keep you moving forward. Number 2, celebrate continuous improvement and not just big wins. This acknowledges that the effort and the progress that leads to big wins and creating resilience along the way, it's like that little salsa dancing in the kitchen because you're doing the dang work. That, my friends, is celebrating the small wins. Number 3, embrace non-dualistic thinking to help you see the big picture and make better decisions, and you work better with others. It's not black and white. It's a billion shades of gray. Number 4, remember that being present is a choice. Doing this will help you improve your relationships, reduce stress, and improve your focus and maximize 5 minutes, 15 minutes, or even an hour in your day. Number 5, choose an infinite identity. This allows you to grow and evolve instead of holding you back to past versions of yourself who you no longer are. Yes and amen. Number 6 is to apply the power of yet. One of the simplest things you can do in a sentence is make true change by simply adding yet. Instead of saying, I don't have it, that's lack, it's I don't have that yet, that's growth. And finally, number 7, challenge the story you're telling yourself. I want you to assume positive intent and don't allow your mind to make up false narratives. Choose to believe the better story. I hope you enjoyed this episode. And if you would be so kind and leave a review or tag me on stories at Jasmine Star, I often repost them. I respond personally. I send voice memos. I'm just so thankful that you're here. I would love to see what you're doing when you're listening to the podcast. I would love to hear your reviews. I read them all very, very, very much. I read them all very much. Yes, I appreciate them all very much, and I read them all. I hope you have a beautiful day. Thank you so much for listening to The Jasmine Star Show.